Hi guys, I hope it's not too distracting. I'm filming in front of a window and I know I have my glasses on and it's probably a little bit reflecty here. I have no makeup on. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you may have noticed that we had a little bit of a labor and delivery scare over the weekend. Today is Sunday, and I just wanted to come on here and just kind of talk about what happened, just kind of for your own information and for my records to look back on and whatnot. So on Thursday afternoon, I had a doctor's appointment at maternal fetal medicine, which is the high risk doctor. I had a 4 o'clock ultrasound and they were doing a biophysical profile, which means they're looking for 3 things. They're looking at how high my fluid levels are, looking for baby to move a few times, and then also watching for practice breathing for the baby. And we spend a long time in that ultrasound. It's typically supposed to be like half an hour that they're watching for the breathing, but Aaron never did it in that half hour, and then the doctor gave us another extra 20 minutes just to kind of observe and see if he would try at least. And we did see a couple times that he was practice breathing, but only for like 3 seconds at the most. And so they got a little bit worried. They put me on some non-stress test monitors, so they're monitoring your contractions and the baby's heart rate to see how he responds to your contractions and stuff like that. And they noticed that he did have 2 dips in his heart rate when I was contracting, and I was having mini contractions when they put me in that room actually. So I was just there for the appointment for the ultrasound, and they ended up rushing me over to labor and delivery at the hospital I was at because of the deceleration in his heart rate. So they had me down in triage, and by this time it's already maybe close to 5:30 because, I mean, like I said, they had the ultrasound was like extra long just to kind of wait for him to start practice breathing, and he never did. So the ultrasound was a little bit longer than it should have been. So it was already like 5:30 by the time I'm down in triage in labor and delivery. And they didn't ever see, they put me back on the monitors and stuff, and they never saw him decelerate his heart rate again. So the doctor who was like on call and down in triage said it could have been because my ultrasound was so long, me just spending so much time on my back. Maybe that's what was bothering him. Not necessarily that the contractions were like not good for him, but just that the whole situation was bad for him. That me laying on my back during the ultrasound for, you know, an hour was what caused him to get, I don't know if you'd call it like irritated or, you know, just caused the problem. And so she didn't make it sound like that big of a deal. She did check my cervix. I was 50% effaced and 1 centimeter dilated. So they did want to continue monitoring me, and they were going to keep me overnight at that point. So they moved me out of triage and into my own room, a delivery room, and still had me hooked up to the monitors, and were just watching over things. They put an IV in once they got me to a room. They tried twice over on this hand, and it took them 2 more tries over on this hand before they got it, and that's gross. I hate needles. I hate that stuff. So it was like super gross, like having to do it like several times. That was not any fun. So they had me on an IV for just like fluids, just to keep me hydrated and whatnot. They did give me a steroid shot for baby's lungs, which should help if he does end up coming early, should help his lungs develop better and faster so that he'll be more ready for the outside world, as opposed to if he didn't have those shots. I had the same thing with Calvin when I went into the hospital at 32 weeks when I had premature rupture of membranes with him, and they gave me those shots. So they gave me the shot at like 9 o'clock at night, and you have to get another one in 24 hours from that time. So they were talking like I was going to have to stay till the next morning and then maybe come back the next night to get that shot again or whatever, but in the end I ended up staying 2 freaking days, which sucked if you ask me. So they've got the monitors on me, you know, like the contraction monitor, his heart rate monitor, the IV in my arm. They've got me hooked up on the blood pressure cuff and the little finger dude, and I got stuff all over me, and I'm supposed to go to sleep, right? So I'm sleeping with all this crap everywhere. So that was terrible. That sucked. I know that it's all good. It's all to keep track of Aaron and make sure that he's doing okay, and to keep an eye out on him, and just as a precaution, you know, I know that it's all for a reason, but it still super duper sucked. So I stayed what is that, Thursday night in the hospital. They made it sound like they said I was going to stay overnight. So to me, that tells me I'm going to go home before noon the next day. That's what overnight means if you tell me that. That's what I would assume. Apparently not, because I ended up staying all day Friday and then again Saturday, until Saturday, like around noon, they finally let me go. But the thing that kind of sucked was that all day Friday, they kept saying my doctor was going to come in, or she was going to give a call, or I was going to find out something and learn something. But I never learned anything all day long. They just kept saying that somebody was coming by, but no one ever did. So I was like living in this limbo for a day of, you're supposed to be going home, but we have to wait on the doctor, and the doctor never shows up. So who the F knows what's going on. So that was just all, it was just very sucky being in that situation where you don't know what the F is going on. Are you going to keep me forever and ever? Can I go home in a few hours? You know, what do I need to do here? You know, I just want to know what the F is going on. And that never really happened, because they never again saw his heart rate decelerate, and they said that my contractions were slowing down. They did give me a pill called Procardia, which is supposed to help with contractions and stuff like that. And plus, the doctors kept saying bed rest was really working well for me, because I was having less and less the longer I was just laying there, you know. And so everything was looking good. You know, they kept saying baby's looking great, he's not having those decelerations, you're still having some contractions, but I was never feeling them like intensely. They were just like a little bit of tightening. Like if you were like trying to feel them, you could like notice that you're having them, but not anything intense or anything. But they just wanted to monitor things, right? So one of the doctors from my doctor office did come in Friday afternoon, and she said if it were up to me, I would hold you another day. So that was kind of telling me that she was going to hold me another day, kind of no matter what. But she did say the baby was looking good. She was kind of concerned about being, you know, 50% effaced and already dilated a little bit. That was kind of concerning her, just because of my previous history with Calvin where my membranes ruptured. So all the contractions and stuff, I understand that it's kind of, you know, can become a big deal. But like I've mentioned to you guys before in my other updates, that I've mentioned many times to my doctor that I'm having contractions a lot throughout the day. Sometimes I will have, you know, a 2-hour period where I'm having 6 in an hour, and then all of a sudden they'll just totally drop off. Not even like depending on what I'm doing. You know, I'm always trying to stay hydrated. I'm always on top of my water, especially at work. I'm like always filling up my water bottle, because I know that that is important for keeping contractions at bay. But at the same time, when your bladder is full, it can cause contractions too. So drinking a bunch of water to prevent contractions, and then having your bladder super full and having to pee all the time, is also causing contractions. So like that whole situation is just kind of sucky, if you ask me. So that's like my daily struggle, is peeing all the time and trying to keep up on my water intake so that I don't have contractions, because I'm peeing all the freaking time. So like I brought that up to my doctors before, and they never made it sound like any big deal, especially because it's my second pregnancy, and that's just kind of what happens as things roll along. So my doctors never made it sound like a big deal. But then I go to maternal fetal medicine, and they're like, you know, we need to get this figured out. So that was kind of the sucky part, is just that I've spent, you know, at least over a month telling my regular doctor about my contractions, and she never thought it was a big deal. She never said it was a big deal. I spoke to both my regular doctor and the midwife who's there in the office as well, and neither of them made it sound like it was much of anything. And then I go to maternal fetal medicine, the high-risk doctor, and, you know, they're programmed to take everything as a sign, you know, so they deal with high-risk pregnancies all the time. So any little thing, they, I think, are more susceptible to assuming that it's bad, you know. So I feel like because I was at maternal fetal medicine when I was having those contractions, they sent me down to labor and delivery because of all the scary things that could possibly go wrong, right? So I stayed 2 nights in the hospital, Thursday night and Friday night. I finally got to go home around noon on Saturday. The doctor did come in and talk to me. She doesn't want me on bed rest, and she was kind of iffy about having me not work anymore. But I explained to her that my job is super duper boring. I have a desk job. I get up to pee and take 5 steps to the printer, and that's all I do all day. It's a construction kind of supply company, and so we're pretty dead here in the wintertime, so it's not a lot going on. I explained it all to her, and she said, that sounds fine, you should be fine. But if you do start having contractions and stuff at work, make sure you try to go home and lay down and rest and hydrate and just rest. So she was kind of iffy and back and forth on the whole bed rest thing, but I thank goodness that she doesn't want me on bed rest, because I literally don't know what I would do. She did say no sexual activity until I'm term, which, I mean, I kind of assume, you know, just as a precaution kind of thing. That makes sense to me. And she wants me to limit my walking. She pretty much said, like, don't go to the mall and just walk around for a few hours, you know, don't like just wander around walking. So they did have me, when I left the hospital, they had me walk through the hospital. They didn't wheel me out or anything. So to me, like going grocery shopping and stuff like that is fine, because they made me walk throughout the whole freaking hospital to leave. So like, why would go to the grocery store be a big deal? So I do have some restrictions, but I'm super, super glad and thankful and happy that they're not anything crazy. So I don't see my regular doctor again until Valentine's Day, so like 2 weeks from now, but I will make another appointment at maternal fetal medicine for this coming week. It's kind of hard to get in there, so I'm not totally sure what day that's going to work out to be, but I will update you guys probably around Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. That's usually when I like to do my regular weekly updates, so if it's not before Tuesday, Wednesday, then you probably won't hear about it until my 33-week update. The thing that's just kind of sucky is that, like I said, I went into the hospital at 32 weeks with Calvin because my membrane's ruptured, and I'm 31 weeks right now, and I'm like, holy crap, why are these things happening right at the same time? It's just really sucky. And I understand this is way better than what happened with Calvin. I couldn't imagine being stuck in the hospital, like, with my family still at home. Just those 2 days that I was gone, I was like, I'm missing my baby so bad. So I don't know what I would do if I had to be on hospital bed rest for the remainder of this pregnancy like I was with Calvin. Just because it's totally different when you have a toddler versus your first baby, you know? And Justin did come by and visit me. I wasn't like alone the whole time. He came and visited me the next morning, the first morning. He brought Calvin by that evening, and Calvin was there for just a little bit, maybe half an hour or so. And the next morning, my sister did come by and bring donuts and stuff. So it's not like I was all alone, but it was still stupid. At least this hospital that I was at this time is like where my family lives. The other hospital that I was at with Calvin is like toward the city a lot more, and nobody lives that way, so it was kind of more of a big deal for people to come visit me when I was at that hospital versus the hospital I was at over this past weekend. It was just like kind of right there where everybody is anyway. So I feel like I'm kind of being a little rambly here. I hope you at least kind of got the gist of the story. I just wanted to kind of document things. I think it was a little more beneficial to do like a separate video all about this event instead of trying to include it in my 32-week update in a few days. So I will have other stuff to update on in that video on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. I try to put them out around Wednesday. So I will have more in that video that doesn't have to do with all this junk here, but I just kind of wanted to throw it out there just in case you guys were concerned. Like I said, I put it on Instagram that I was in the hospital, and I know I had a couple comments on there, so in case you guys were following me there and you noticed that, I promised that I would put out a video kind of explaining things a little bit more. So here's your video. I hope that all of your pregnancies are going really great and you don't have any scary stuff to update on. Let me know how things are going down below. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope it was at least a little bit helpful, or if you're going through some sucky stuff, that at least, you know, like other people go through sucky stuff too. I had a couple moments in the hospital where I was just like crying and sad and just wanting a regular normal pregnancy. And I know there are plenty of women out there who have way worse pregnancies than I've had, but I just wish I could have just a normal, regular, no stupid things going on pregnancy. At least at some point, you know, I just hope for that. And so I did have a couple moments of like sadness in the hospital, like when I was crying and stuff, and just overwhelmed by things and worried about things and not knowing what was going on and all that kind of junk. But it's okay now. I mean, I'm home. Everything is good now. So hopefully things continue to be good. My doctor did prescribe me that Procardia pill, which is supposed to help with the contractions. So I am taking those, and another additional thing that I've been taking this pregnancy. So I've got my Makina shots, I've got my prenatals, I've got an iron supplement, plus the Procardia now. So I've got all kinds of pills that I gotta watch. I feel like an old lady. I gotta like take a million things. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just wanted to kind of update you guys. I will see you in my next pregnancy update in the middle of this coming week. So I will talk to you guys then.